is the dogs! It's the Sandberg, baby! This is how we do it for the dogs!
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Quick Sticks. James, Matt, and Sam here. We are back with another episode. PLL Championship over. Waterdogs are champs. It's a good day, boys. It's a good day.
Congrats. Big congrats.
Appreciate it. James, I just received your $50 Venmo, so thank you. You're a man of your word.
Man of my word. You watch the clip?
No, I didn't watch the clip. If somehow any of you find my Venmo, James put a clip on there. Don't watch it. So he picked Chaos to win. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Let's talk championship. I feel like I was pretty spot on with my prediction. I think I said two goal game.
We were pretty close.
Yeah. I think we all were in the same ballpark.
Yeah. And you said, whoa, okay, this is gonna be a long episode. You also said goalies, would be the difference, and especially for the Waterdogs, man, down the stretch, Dylan was.
Yeah, honestly, I think there was definitely some, shots and offensive plays that stood out, but by far the best highlights were watching Blaze and Dylan Ward just go head to head because they both made saves that were just game-changing plays.
Yep, absolutely game-changing. That rebound that we ended up Chris picked up on the crease and ended up not putting that whole sequence.
Oh my god,
was
that the one in the fourth quarter or the one right before half?
It was in the fourth quarter. Blaze has a save. We outlet it. You go down and shoot. I mean, and just because Dylan plays that high crease, it makes things so much more stressful because every rebound looks like an open goal.
Someone on Twitter wrote something about Waterdogs fans' heart rate when Ward steps out of the cage, but the possession right before half was the one I noticed, and he he was 10 yards out of the cage, falls to his knees, saves it, and then Chaos. I don't know who on Chaos. Someone got the rebound, and then he somehow stoned him at the crease.
Yeah,
I was like, that was huge because that's the difference between us being tied at half versus us being down at half.
Yeah.
I thought y'all were in trouble too early on. Blaze was looking hot from the get-go. You guys were getting shots off, but they looked
Chaos offense came out firing.
But both sides. At the beginning of that game, you guys didn't look good, and I thought Chaos were going to run away with it. So credit to you guys coming back and fighting.
Which is my biggest knock on the Chaos was the wing dodge with Josh Byrne was seemingly unguardable. Not to mention, Josh was shooting the best on Dylan Ward. I don't know if you guys heard the under the helmet. They were like, Josh, what are you looking at when you shoot on Ward? He's like, man, it's early in the game.
I ain't telling you
that.
I didn't see that. Damn.
Yeah, it was awesome. But to go from that to Josh literally not touching the ball in the fourth quarter, I'm speechless.
I was curious. I saw you on Twitter, but I was like, James is such a big Josh Byrne fan. No Chaos fan was happy with that. He's the hottest shooter on your team.
The last 4 possessions, it was 2 Chase Frazier dodges, a Kyle Jackson dodge from up top, and a turnover. Why?
Yikes.
You're going down with one of your worst dodgers. Chase Frazier isn't a dodger,
Yeah.
And we can get into how mad I am at Chase Frazier for some of his childish antics, but it's literally what every coach says. The second guy always gets caught. And I actually have to tout the Waterdogs for being honestly pretty mature in a lot of those situations and seeing the bigger picture. And I'm very much bothered that people's ego got in the way of a championship, because at the end of the day, someone headbutts you. Okay, you walk past them, you get over it, and that ground exactly that ground ball by Chase Frazier was supposed to be a huge momentum swing for us, and it ended up being the opposite. We got the possession. We were going to be man up, and instead it's a Waterdogs ball because we have more penalty time. He's in the box for the rest of the game.
And we got man up for a minute afterwards.
And you guys were one more man up. And I love listening to Matt P talk through any call ever.
Punch was a bad choice. The shirts made
come
yesterday.
On, man. That's A1. Punch was a bad choice. Because he's right. If he would have pushed him, I think Chase gets a minute.
Yeah.
If he would have maybe nudged him back or a headbutt or something, I think a minute. But he threw a punch.
I don't even know if he would get a minute, dude. I think if it's a shove, the whole game was chippy.
Yeah. Matt was letting a lot go too.
Scalia definitely headbutted him to start 100%. It. But if Chase just nudges him, I think he just gets a warning. I don't even know if he gets a minute.
I think it'd be hard to justify that just because of what was going on in the game. But even still, I think if we're even, we keep the ball and we can set up a play for O'Keefe, which is what we are definitely going to do. But yeah, I mean, dude, the intensity was like outrageous. Like the Curry or Burn fight.
So yeah, I was gonna say that when Burn cross-checked him in the back, I was like, that's kind of what started everything. Which, the Waterdogs were chippy too. It definitely wasn't just chaos.
To be clear, Curry started that one. I'm not letting my man John.
I was waiting. Yeah.
Yeah, Curry started that one. Don't do that.
Debatable.
No, it's not. It's not debatable. Kurt. What?
We'll agree to disagree. Chase Frazier's officially a scumbag in my book for his antics. He acted like a child.
He did.
To your point, that's a moment where you put ego aside, you swallow your pride. That again, like he knew when he threw that punch, the refs are going to see it. We're going to get penalized. So it's like you're just basically saying, I don't give a shit how this affects my team. I'm hitting this.
Exactly.
Yep.
And I don't know why it bothered me that he walked straight out on the field while they were reviewing it. I was like, dog, you're not going back on the field.
No. Go ahead and hit the box. Yeah.
Right. I was like, in what world? That was tough. Now I will say for your coach, you guys had some like perfectly timed timeouts. Like sometimes like in the back of your head, you're kind of thinking like, wow, now would be a good time every time.
In the fourth quarter.
He was ready. Yeah. Like those were massive because you either kept the possession and scored or kept us away from, possibly coming back.
So he called a timeout. I forget why I thought it was a good timeout, but so when we came out of the timeout was when he was like, we're just going to burn the clock and then get back on D. But as soon as we threw the ball into the corner, he called another timeout, which let our defense set up. And I was like, that
perfect.
Was genius.
Because when I heard someone call a timeout, I was like, why would he call it with? I was like, he gets to set up everything. He gets to have his personnel. It was very well done. Very well done.
Thing about Copeland, I don't know if you guys caught this, but he broke down the huddle coming out of the timeout with 2 minutes left.
Okay.
And usually when they break down the huddle, he does like Waterdogs on 3, 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
He went to break the huddle and said 0-3 because the Waterdogs started 0-3.
The Waterdogs were 0-3.
And I was like, dude, 2 minutes left in the championship. Like, you're this close. Just remember we were 0-3. I was like, that's so sick.
The social media that the PLL is going to pull from that clip is going to be so sick. Like having him break that down and then having like probably one of Kelly's goals, which by the way, we do talk about that. Kelly, like his head ducking on his high shots was getting blazed so bad. And people don't realize like how tough it is to make that look so realistic that the goalie bites. But he's doing it from like 10 yards out.
Everybody and their mother thought he was going low on that shot.
100%, like on both of them, which I was so surprised. And then, of course, because you guys know he's one of my favorite players, Jack Hanna's on the run, near side on Blaze.
That was a rocket.
Outrageous. Was absolutely outrageous.
That was a rocket.
Blaze was
I was glad to see him score. He's been quiet in the postseason. But
he loves that near side.
He's got
that was a great shot. I will say I could watch Michael Sowers on Jack Rowlett
all day
for 24 hours.
All day, man.
I think so. You had said earlier in the year, like you said it all season long, James, of like Waterdogs are my favorite until we see a defender who can check Sowers. And I think Rowlett's the closest we saw. Like he is quick enough to stay almost step for step with Sowers, but he's also aggressive as shit and like kind of bullied Sowers, which you have to do. You have to bully Sowers.
100%. Because he tried to get a few role on Jack.
Yeah, and like
that's true.
Jack was like, try that again, and I'm gonna bury you underneath the net.
Yeah. And that's why I said that physicality is gonna be necessary. But one thing I realized more in this game is Sowers isn't just a hard matchup. He makes switching really hard because he's so quick. So when they bring that pickup with the short stick, he splits, man, and he's 6 yards. So you don't have time to let the guy through like in basketball or anything. Like you have to switch, and Sowers plays on a lot of short sticks because of his quickness. Which is, I mean, what short stick's going to check him, especially behind the cage? So, man, that was fun to watch. Though Jack Rowlett had a good game for sure.
Yeah, I was, I thought that to beat Chaos, Dylan Ward would have to play his ass off. We'd have to get Blaze uncomfortable, and then as long as Withers could compete with Adler at the face-off, which he did a great job. And then obviously again, having Courier was just a ground ball. Like ground balls were the reason the Waterdogs won this game.
Do you know the delta in ground balls?
I saw it was 35-23 late. I didn't see what the final was.
It's 43-28.
Wow. Well, there you have it.
To think that this is only a 2-point game is kind of crazy with stats like that.
I know.
But it's kind of what we talk about though. If you're going to make a comeback, you have to hit a 2 bomb. So It is tough to realize that we were probably like a Kevin Durant shoe length away from two bombs.
Dude, that first one was so close. I don't know who that LSM was.
I think it was Reese. He went high.
Matt Reese, is that his name?
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, that one was damn close. Because I was like, if we're down 4-0, we're in some trouble here.
Yeah, and like another thing on Withers is he wouldn't fight to get fast breaks, but sometimes when he got the ground ball, he just put enough pressure on our defense that we'd have to rotate a little bit, which gave McCardle that wing shot one time. It gave Ethan Walker a wing shot one time, and he wasn't even running a fast break. He was literally just like continuously moving towards the cage. So at one point they had to rotate, and as we've seen, McCardle can shoot from anywhere, man. His accuracy is unmatched.
It's insane.
It is.
What'd you guys think of Sowers getting MVP? Do you agree? Disagree? And this was MVP of the tournament, not of the championship game.
So I agree only because that last sentiment. I think Dylan was the MVP of the championship game, but I think Sowers is the MVP of the whole tournament, easily, for sure.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm going to echo what James said. Same thing. I don't think the Waterdogs have the same like offensive fluidity, I guess you'd say, or just offensive chemistry without Sowers there.
Chemistry is important now. Okay.
Has been. But yes, yeah, without Sowers, they wouldn't have made it as far as they did. So definitely deserves that. And Ward, yeah.
Did you guys realize Blaze had 2 assists?
Definitely did not.
Because I didn't. I had no idea he had 2 assists.
Ooh.
Like I saw some of those fast breaks that he started.
Damn. I will say on the to give Andy Tower some credit, it was probably it was your last possession where he put Blaze on attack to screen Ward.
Yeah,
Love that move. Love that
genius.
move. Wish it had worked, but also wish it hadn't.
And we really got to see the out of cage skill from Dylan and Blaze, which I think people really don't understand. I mean, when those guys are out of the cage, they're not uncomfortable. I mean,
yeah,
it was really cool to watch those guys like be that involved in a clear game, and just the talent on the field, man, was like so awesome. I don't think the season could have ended in a better way. 2-point game, high intensity, fights on both sides, penalties. Like it was what you want, you know.
So and I'm glad you mentioned that because yeah, dude, the chippiness got Lax Twitter. Everyone was talking.
Exactly,
which is cool.
Everyone was talking, which is great.
You obviously had a few people upset because they were like, oh, I wanted to see OT. And I'm like, in the championship, I don't want OT.
No.
Like, I want a team to win a tight one just in regulation, I think. Like, semis or quarterfinals, OT all time. But sure. I don't know if I want an OT just because, like, so many little things can happen in OT. The fact that it's first goal wins.
Yeah.
I like seeing a team. I kind of, if I hadn't had a personal investment in the championship, of course, I wanted it to be a 1-goal game, or a 1-goal victory, but just a 1-possession victory. And like, honestly, being up by 2 kind of made it more because everyone was like, we're going to get a last second 2-bomb here to maybe tie it up. Right. And it's like when, in the NBA, when a team's down by 3, but they have the ball.
And there's nothing more exciting than seeing a team set up for an obvious 3-pointer.
And then Dame Lillard's at the logo and you're like, oh yes.
Wow. Bye-bye, Paul George.
Yeah. Sure.
No, Matt, I will agree and disagree with what you said about the overtime. I would agree that I don't want it to go to overtime if the teams are getting timeouts like they do in college. But the PLL, because there are no timeouts, and it's literally just like throw both teams out there, see who scores first. I'm not mad about that. I'm not mad that a championship goes down to the players being on the field, no coach intervention, no like get the ball, call timeout, set up a play. It's literally just roll the ball and see who wins. So agree and disagree.
I don't know. I'm a big fan, and I hated the NFL overtime rule, not to keep switching sports, but
sure.
Where like if a team went down, kicked a field goal, game was over. I hated that.
I get that.
And I wish, so that's my only ding against overtime. I wish the PLL could implement where, like, let's say in overtime, Chaos went down and scored, like give Waterdogs 1 possession to tie it up. But in lacrosse, I think that would be too easy, or just the game would just continue. Because obviously if they tie it up, you just have to keep going back and forth till someone doesn't score.
Right.
But in theory, it would be fun. Like, I'm a big fan of letting the other team have a chance.
it's hard for me to hear that because it's lacrosse. Like we have face-offs.
I know, that's what I'm saying. Like they're never going to change that, but
Yeah, I just okay. No, that's fair. That's fair.
but I still thought it was a great game. Like, you know, I definitely didn't. I'll take overtime over a blowout any day. Like, no one wanted to see that. So, but
It definitely like proved that like two of the best teams were in the championship. Like, I think there could have been a great game for a few teams who were here, but like
Like
you
team?
said, Matt, like if we didn't have a blowout, so there wasn't like, you know, halfway through the game we switched channel because we can already tell who's gonna win.
yeah. Well, I mean, even if, you know, I don't want the Waterdogs to win 13-6. Like, no one's gonna watch. You know, I don't want to watch that.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
When they showed the clips of the sound of the crowd when we hit that 2-pointer, it made me like so happy about the future of lacrosse. I mean, that
Yeah.
place erupted. Not to mention, for a 3 o'clock on week 2 of NFL, that stadium was pretty damn packed. They have to be happy about that. You know?
yeah, and I actually, so last week I said like, oh, the game's gonna be in Lincoln Financial. It wasn't. I don't know. It was at some smaller
That's right,
stadium, but
yeah.
I'm kind of glad they did because I actually went back and watched the ending of the championship last year.
Yeah.
And again, like you obviously only had Link Financial is huge. So it's you only had the lower bowl filled. So it didn't sound loud. That stadium yesterday was packed.
It was rocking.
And when the final horn sounded, that place went nuts. And I was like, that was so much cooler sounding than 30% capacity at Lincoln Financial, if that.
1000% agree. Like,
Yeah.
100% agree. I mean, it was especially those sequences when like the goalies were making multiple saves and all that. There's a different when you have the ooh and ah when all that stuff's going on. I mean, it's awesome. It's
Yeah.
awesome. It's really exciting.
I don't know if you guys did you guys watch the post game at all?
I watched the trophy presentation.
Okay, because
Is that it?
did you see when Mike Rabel came on stage
No.
and they had already given MVP? It was like after all that stuff, but he came on stage and he was like, by the way, guys, we just got a notification that one of our major sponsors, Cash App, just immediately after the game was over, they wrote a check for the winning team, which is the Waterdogs, for $50,000 to go have a night on the town.
Wait,
so he's
what?
like, and he hands him this huge check and he's like, here you go, guys. And it was like the worst celebration of all time by the Waterdogs. They were all just like, yeah. And even the girl commentator next to Mike said in the microphone, she was like, I don't think they understood you just handed them a check for $50,000, Mike.
Not at all.
Like no one was paying attention. I'm like, these people are paying for your bar tab for the entire night.
I guarantee they didn't realize till they got to the locker room. Someone was like,
Yeah.
wait, what is this?
Oh,
Dude,
yeah, for
50K
sure.
on the house, man. Like,
Yeah, it was just hilarious though.
Wow.
Now it's
No,
just
I
a
didn't-
challenge. Can you waste 50K in a night?
Oh yeah.
Sam King
With
invested
how
$50.
much champagne they did, champagne showers in the locker room. They had Mick Ultras flowing. They probably spent a couple
Yeah,
bucks.
we know what protocol is after championships, Matt. I appreciate that.
Well, I'm just saying it was
I'm
fun.
well
but,
aware. I'm so aware. Actually.
I understand you had probably turned the channel by then. Hopefully not the
Matt,
Commanders
tell me
game.
what to like.
Yo, that was double. No, Sam, hold up. That was unnecessary. That was so unnecessary.
Oh man.
Okay. I know who I'm pulling
Real
for
talk
here.
though, I was about to turn the post game off just because I was like, all right, this is over. And then they started showing the players going to say congratulations to their girlfriends and wives, and I tuned in.
Not gonna
for
miss that. Not
Um,
gonna miss that.
Yeah, Connor Kelly and Ryan Brown, and even Andy Copeland's wife. I was like, good for you.
Big fans.
That's
all over.
great and good for ABC. Like you want to talk about keeping your viewers on your channel for as long as you can.
Yeah,
That's a good way.
like let's keep it a buck. They always do that with golf. They're always like, John Rollins,
yeah, yeah.
get your wife out here. Justin Thomas, come on. Now I will say Ryan Brown didn't play at all, right? He was available, but didn't play.
I didn't see him. Yeah,
I don't
Ethan
even know if
Walker
I
was
saw him
their
on
other
Man
tech.
Up. Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't see him. I saw him dressed, so he was definitely
Right.
available. But I figured that was the case. I think he wanted to be dressed probably more just for mental of like I was out there. But
Yeah, I actually get that 100%. Dude, our scoring is so weird. Matt Reese led all scorers, our poll, because he had the 2-pointer and then another goal. Then it's Josh with 2 points and Lucia. It's really weird. Dean
I guess
Smith
that makes
had-
sense. Yeah.
Well, I know. I just like Dean Smith had a couple. He had I thought he had more than just 1 point, but you couldn't find the cage. That's crazy.
Yeah.
And then Blaze is number 5 in points because he had 2 assists. It's just weird. It's a weird lineup to see like an LSM, 2 middies, then a goalie, like your scoring column.
That's definitely odd.
You know. So
Yeah,
that
getting
was-
back to MVP. I mean, I agree. I think Sowers deserved it. I wouldn't have been mad if they had given it to Dylan Ward, but
sure.
again, like you guys said, I mean, without Sowers, we're not in the championship. So, but
And-
from just the championship, Ward was absolutely the MVP.
I do think the whole like him being the NLL MVP, and getting the goalie award there might have even played a part. You know, here
Yeah,
he won his
I
hardware.
agree.
Whereas
That's kind of
Sowers-
dope. Dude won an indoor and an outdoor lacrosse championship
Right.
the same year.
1 year.
Yeah, and I know that again, like we talked about last time. Like I know that hurt the Chaos guys losing to the same goalie basically in what
I definitely
9-month
had
span,
something to do with the
8-month span.
chippiness.
Yeah, 100%. Because that was all. But I mean, like I said, it's well deserved, and I'm very glad that we're not saying things like if this happened, the game would have been different.
Yeah,
The Waterdogs
no, I
just
agree.
played a better game down the stretch. You know, as Matt Rambo said, hit singles when you guys needed to, and Dylan Ward at the end was must-watch TV. Now that like even as someone who's trying to score on him, I was kind of pulling for him because I was like, some of these saves are just outrageous.
Yeah, he played his ass off, that's for sure. But
Well
Yeah.
deserved, man. Well deserved. I think
Appreciate it.
Sowers has the best PLL story, right? Like missing entire season, getting hurt again.
well, I also didn't realize he didn't win any championships in high school. He didn't win any at Princeton. He didn't win at Duke. So
Right.
this is his first championship
That's
in any
crazy.
lacrosse.
For being
And
as
I
good
think
as he
that's what I'm
is,
saying.
to
Yeah.
not have a championship under your belt until the pros, I thought that
And
that
to
is a
do
crazy-
it and to do it in front of his home crowd
In Philly.
was super cool.
Yeah, damn, that's actually really cool. But I think it also is a testament to like what Paul's doing. Like, if someone hasn't won in high school, if they haven't won in college, like they still have a chance, and that feels good as an athlete knowing that it's not over. You know, whereas
Yeah.
whatever, 5-6 years ago, it basically was over. That was the last chance I could win.
Yeah, and
Solid result.
and it was really cool because they interviewed Dylan after the game, and he was like, or I think the question was something along the lines of like, what's the best part about this? And he was like, the best part is we were an expansion team, and he's like, this is only our 3rd year, and he was like, we figured our shit out quick.
Yeah,
I was like, that's kind of scary to think about.
no,
Like
they did. Like,
their chemistry is unreal, and this is only their 3rd year together. Not that I mean, PLL teams only have one more season, but still.
but like, I mean, that's true. But you guys have all the pieces. That's what's crazy. Like, it's not like everything just fell together at once. Like, you guys have all the pieces. I mean, I think the only place I might want somebody else is if you guys have maybe a better face-off guy for some parts of the
Yeah,
season.
so I was thinking about
because
that. I mean, it's
relying
way
on
too early.
Courier for the GBs is like, I mean, it's tough, but you know, you got to use it till it's broken. You know, and Courier's that good.
Well, and I think that's I don't know how, but I think teams are going, obviously teams are going to be watching a ton of tape on them this offseason, and I think teams are going to figure out a way to minimize Courier's ground balls because it's such a big factor. So I'm like,
Man.
we're going to have a guy who can win just straight up face offs.
I don't know if you can, dude.
Well, that's what I'm
really
saying
don't.
is like, I don't know if there is a way, but if there is a way, some coach is going to figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, they're gonna have a pole on them. They're gonna try to put them all the way down the wing, and they're gonna try. I mean, basically, your defense to Courier is having a face-off guy that wins it clean. That's the defense.
Right. Exactly. That's
Right,
what I'm
like,
saying.
Have the actual. I mean, then you have teams like the Atlas who win a bunch of face-offs and still lose. So maybe that doesn't
True.
matter. But
well, because
no,
I was thinking, I
just-
was like, what? And it's way too early to think about the draft, but I'm like already thinking of what do we?
What do you
I mean, if there's a good face-off guy, like a great face-off guy, then I could see us
I'd take
going
that.
for it. But
I take that because I mean, it had some wear and tear on Courier this season. You know, like that's a lot of. You know, that's a lot of physicality for the
lot.
whole season for him, right? To be doing that. Closest thing
Yeah.
to, a running back.
and we
that
also got to
have, so.
see if anybody now that they have a championship retires, which would suck. So I'm hoping-
Yeah, I mean, especially any of the guys who won NLL and PLL.
I
mean,
know
If there's ever a time to bounce, I think it's
because
then.
this was McCardle's 9th season in professional lacrosse. So I was like, he might be thinking about retiring, but then I was like, dude, he was runner-up for MVP basically. So I'm
No,
like,
I
he
don't
can't
think-
retire.
And just like the way he plays the game, he can play for a while, man.
He's in his prime right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, like seriously, like what Miles said in the documentary. Like we've literally never seen some of these lacrosse players have this amount of time to commit in their prime. Like we've never
Yeah.
seen it. which is why we're seeing the absurdity that was this season.
Yeah. So season's a wrap. Waterdogs are champs. 2022 is over.
That's it.
So we wanted to look back at the season, and because it was an absolutely wild season, but
Yes.
I want to hear biggest positive surprise, whether it was a player or a team, but what surprised you guys the most this season? Samuel, we'll start with you.
First was it was fun. It was fun seeing how Brandon or Nick Turn and Wisnauskas, how they just translated super fast to the league and just, I guess, paved the way for college, like college grads coming into the league. Like they kind of showed that it's possible. So I think they showed that the PLL is a viable option for a lot of kids out of college, even though the contracts and the money thing isn't like NBA and NFL standards.
Right.
That was a super big positive for me. Was them playing super well. Nick Turn winning Rookie of the Year, but also just leading the Chrome to a good season overall compared to last year.
Sure.
So to me, that was a good positive, was, just seeing their games translate. Also, they are freaks of nature, but yeah, just showing overall PLL.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I'll stick with that because I'm also going Chrome, but
Sure.
my biggest surprise was JT Giles Harris. I knew he would be, or I figured he would be a great defender, but people are forgetting this was his rookie season. He didn't play at all last year. So
For sure.
to get defenseman of the year as a rookie is crazy. Now, granted, he did have a full season to learn from other PLL guys and the coach and everything like that, but
Still,
winning that award in your first season is crazy. And if Chrome can get another defenseman to pair up with him, matched with Scanoni and Ned in that offense, look out.
Scary season. Scary season.
James, what do you got?
So I have first a positive overall for the PLL. Dude, it is wild top to bottom how competitive this league is.
It is.
I can count on maybe 7 games the whole season that were blowouts. Like it's kind of weird, like thinking about like the NFL this past week, thinking that like we all can pull out a couple blowouts this season that we remember. And we remember them because the league is so tight, but there were so many overtimes, so many 1-goal games, all that. So to get an expansion team and to change the way the league's doing things and the competitive level is still top tier, that was amazing to me. I mean, that was like incredible. But
and what did we talk about? The image they put up when everyone was making their brackets. Chaos was 2.8, and the next team up was Waterdogs. So you had the two teams that least amount of people had in the championship.
Which makes it so much more watchable,
Oh, for sure.
It's like everyone, loves to watch the bad character. For player, I'm gonna say this might be kind of relatively random, but I'm gonna say Dylan Malloy for the Chrome. Him coming over from the MLL, I think. And if Sam, if you haven't had a chance to watch this, go watch the Maryland Brown semifinal championship in 2016. Dylan Malloy puts up an absurd game on a broken foot. And as soon as I saw that game, dude, because he plays like back to the basket like Uchiha does. But after seeing that, hearing what he was doing in the MLL, I was like really excited to think that he's going to come to the PLL and do really well. I mean, he finished top 20 in scoring just because Wisnauskas and everybody else on the team was doing so well. He didn't get talked about. But dude, he had weeks where he had 4 or 5 goals, and people, he was a big question mark for a lot of people, and he came out firing. So that was definitely a big positive.
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a real good one. He was 100%, like, even though we called his name so much, he was still kind of slept on just because everyone was talking about Wisnauskas and Nick Turn and these younger guys. But
like, it's weird to think
he had a
more
great
points.
year.
He had more points than Chanichuk, Dean Smith, Asher, Ryder. Like, think about that's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy. So no, that's my surprise.
That's a good one. So let's flip the script here. What was the biggest disappointment of the season? Sam, let's hear from you.
few. Overall, one was the Redwoods.
Can I guess what one of them is?
Yeah, you probably can. One was the Redwoods overall. I thought that the individual players that they had, even though Pinnell had, a fantastic season, we'll give him credit for that. But I thought they could have been where the Whipsnakes were, 6-1, 7-1 going into the playoffs. Like, they definitely have everything. And I think, if anything, they weren't expecting the meltdown at goalie. I think they were expecting, now I'm forgetting his name.
Troutner,
thank you. I think they're expecting Troutner to be solid, and then all of a sudden he wasn't. So, and then, yeah. But, what's up?
I thought you had 2 disappointments.
I did.
Wait, I want to talk about the Redwoods first.
Oh,
Okay, fair. Yeah.
No, so that's a great one. I think that's a unanimous one across all of us. But but yeah, I mean, James, to your point, like, that's 2 years ago, Timmy Troutner was great.
Right.
And like, that's just how quickly things can change. He went from one of the best goalies in the league to the worst of the starting 8 goalies
for sure
in 1 year. And I think after the draft, when they got guys like Arden Cohen and Nakai Montgomery, everybody, including myself, was like, who is going to stop the Redwoods? But you just you end up sleeping on other teams because you forget how good, and James, you kind of would call us back to reality and be like, because when we would do our rankings, we would have Redwoods at 2, and then we'd end up having Whipsnakes at 6. And James was like, we're not putting the Whipsnakes at 6, guys. But you focus
they literally
on
haven't
so
watched,
many.
they literally haven't lost.
Transactions are such a big part of this league. So when a team gets a player, you're like, oh shit, the Redwoods are going to be unstoppable.
That's so true. We get so trigger happy when we hear some names together and we're like, oh dude, Perkovic, Nakai, Miles, who's stopping it? It was like everybody.
Everybody stopped it.
literally every team and every goal.
Everybody knows how to stop it already.
So wait, do we have a unanimous disappointment as the Redwoods? Is that?
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, I had a player, but if I had a team, it would be the Redwoods. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it'd be Atlas. It'd be Atlas.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thanks, man. So I was gonna say the Atlas midfield is my other big disappointment this year.
Because their chemistry is so good.
Just the midfield?
Yeah, just the midfield. Our offense, overall, but we won't get into that. We won't get into that. Overall, I thought our midfield could have helped out in some situations, because I know we don't have that.
Sam Hanley?
Not yet.
So stupid.
Salty.
I'm a champion.
We literally have no idea if it's going to work. Don't do this again.
We just
did this.
I know.
Stop doing this.
Yeah, what did we just talk about?
We literally talked about being trigger happy. Dude, once we get Sam Hanley.
When they got Jeff T,
gonna keep getting.
When they got Jeff T, they were like, dude. And then when they got Chris Gray, dude,
this is it. This is it.
But what I'm saying is our midfield is we have Brian Cospiel, fucking Romar Dennis, who should be leading the league with 10 2-point goals, in my opinion. That should not be an area talked about. We just know he's leading the stat and he's not on it.
Yeah, but that's a little tough. Sam.
So you're saying it's a personnel issue?
No, I'm saying it's a not executing to the level
chemistry, or
not playing to the standard you set earlier on, and now it's it's just
so Romar's had this issue his whole career, by the way. And on top of that, Sam, do you remember, this is calling back to another sport, but Tiger Woods' dad talking about don't swing as hard as you can unless you can get it perfectly on the face.
Yep.
That's basically what Romar's shot is, but he doesn't get it perfectly on the face every time. But when it is on the face, there's nobody there's not a control S in the world that's saving it. So
and that's what I think there's no doubt Romar is a great weapon to have on your team, but I just don't know if you can rely on him that much.
He's one of a few. I thought Brian Costabile was going to have a fantastic.
Like Costabile's a guy you need to lean on.
Costabile had a good season.
Yeah, and he had a great season.
He did, but there's also times where he turned the ball over twice, and each time he turned the ball over, team scored, we're down 2 and we lose the game. Like he did have key turnovers, and
I agree.
Just overall, we have a deep midfield that we could pull from that just didn't produce, in my opinion. Our attack didn't produce. I
was gonna say down the stretch though, it was your attack.
Yeah,
were non-existent.
We can't just give them a free pass here.
No, I'm not giving them an.
I'm not. But I think because of everybody's expectation of what they should have produced, I think we can just go unsaid that it is a disappointment for everybody in the league to not see Chris Gray and Jeff Teat produce to where we thought they would. You know, like I thought Teat would be next to Lyle in points. Like that would be like a one-on-one kind of competition.
I mean, yeah, exactly. But like, does this go back to like the age thing? Like we also saw Logan and Nick Turn both melt in the playoffs too. Nowhere to be found.
Maybe.
So maybe
I don't know.
You know, meanwhile, McCardo looked calm.
That's why I think it's premature to label him as we have the Archers. I think, but next year. Definitely finding a label for the Atlas if they don't win.
Cowboys,
not the Cowboys.
Cowboys. We already have labels.
Mine is the Redwoods as well. But it's more TD, and I know he was hurt, but that was something that I thought was such a shoe-in. And my other one is, and I don't know if it's injury related. I really don't, but like the Grant Amen comeback was just not what I thought it was going to be.
So disappointing.
I mean, there was times where he would get the ball, man, and I wasn't even worried. I mean, no sidearm passes, no juking people out of their shoes. Like I really think he never got healthy, but when he came back, especially because he took a lot of time off, I was like, oh, he's going to come back and he's going to be Grant Amen of old, and he just wasn't. So that was a tough disappointment.
Yeah, that's definitely a fair one.
You know, and then for the league overall, I think I was kind of upset that they used the drone footage only for like 1 week, and like we never saw it again, even though everybody in the comments was like, yo, more of this. So I feel like next year they need to like experiment more and more with those kind of things, because it was really cool to see man up goals on like the drone footage. I love that. So a little let down there.
Yeah, no, the drone footage is something I think they'll kind of slowly start to implement, but
yeah,
I just think and I could be completely wrong, but with the drone footage, it's a lot harder to follow the ball. And I think the PLL is still so entrenched with gaining new non-lacrosse viewers,
for sure,
that they're just trying to make it as easy as possible to see the game like progress, like an offense develop. But for true lacrosse fans, people who have played or watched the game for a while, those are the ones who are like, dude, we want more drone footage. So like, I think they need to do something where they stream the game online in drone footage.
Yep.
Like the NBA used to do that.
Yeah. And like, I guess let me specify. I don't mean drone footage for actual production of the game. I just mean, one, highlights in general, and two, how cool would it be if Keegs did like a 30-minute podcast and all of his takes were from the drone footage? You know, like showing the pics. You know what I'm saying? He could like draw on the screen, or even like, you know, I could listen to Boyle, you know, read the yellow pages, but either of those guys. Yeah, I mean, he can get me excited about anything. But like having Keegs have that footage, that kind of thing. I don't know if you guys saw, but today on, I think, House of Highlights, somebody could put a GoPro on their chest when they played pickup basketball, and the footage is amazing. It's incredible to watch, and obviously all the comments were like, imagine if Giannis had this on for a game. So, you know, like that kind of thing would be, yeah, it would be crazy. So but
that's a good idea.
You know, I didn't mean in the actual production of the game, because I think you're right. We don't want it to look like, you know, FIFA 06. So I get that.
I mean, but there are people asking for that. That's what I thought you meant.
Yeah.
There have been people on Lax Twitter like, I want full games and drone footage, but the highlights and drone footage is top tier.
It's the same thing as like the NFL. I want to see the route trees.
Yeah,
you know, so like I really want a day where I can like actually see when people turn their hips and what they did. And I want the same thing for, you know, when Shriver's coming up top, or like Sauer's coming from X, like seeing that drone footage over top, seeing the slides happening. That's really cool stuff. So
yeah, that's a good one.
That'd be sick.
But yeah, on the Grant Ament note, I mean, that one was 100% a disappointing comeback, but I do agree. I wonder if he was 100% at all at any point, but
I don't think he was.
I don't know. It was also like, I want to say it was like a fallback for Archers fans just because they had such an up and down year. And then they were like, oh, once we get Ament back. And I'm like, it's just not that kind of league where like you and like the Waterdogs play without Sowers a couple games. And it's like you just can't rely on one player, even as good as Grant Ament, to come in and just save. Like, not in this league. One player can't come back and save your season.
Especially because there's so many facets of the game. Like if Grant had a good game, that wouldn't have mattered if Gittleman couldn't see shit, which he couldn't.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying.
You know?
Like he could have 4 goals and Archer still lose.
Right.
So
actually, yeah, that's true. He kind of had the Jameis on the Saints syndrome. 4 picks, 4 touchdowns.
They're the Saints.
They are the Saints. They are the Saints.
So my league-wide one is kind of a small one, but every week when PLL posts the highlight or recaps to YouTube, they were putting in the title of the video who won. And okay. I'm not kidding. Every video, the comments are flooded with people saying, "Stop ruining the game. Like, I didn't get to watch yesterday. I wanted to watch the highlights, and now I know who won."
Yeah.
And for the semifinals was the first time all season they didn't put in who won. And people were like applauding in the comments, like, finally I can watch the highlights and not know who won till the end. And I was like,
I think that's a big disappointment, but I also think it speaks to the PLL listening to the fans.
So that's why I was torn. Like, it's a disappointment it took so long to listen to their fans, but they're like, you know, if this was the NFL or a bigger league, they don't listen to their fans.
No, not at all.
PLO is like reading those comments.
Yeah, they definitely have like a whole social media team dedicated to that.
Yeah.
Like I even love the engagement of Eric Law losing that game for the Atlas and responding to Diggs' tape. Like I thought that was so cool. He's like, "Yo, Diggs, that one's on us, man." Like sometimes you throw that pass and it works, sometimes you throw it and it doesn't. Like, and he had an honest take. You know, he wasn't like he wasn't mad or anything. So I thought that was I love the engagement of this league for sure.
Yeah. Cool. So my player disappointment was Steven Rafus.
Wow.
On the Cannons.
My goodness.
So if you guys don't remember, last season as a rookie, he had 25 points. He shot 45%, which was 10th in the league, and made the top 50 players in the PLL as a rookie. Fast forward to this season, he only had 6 goals, only had 14 points, and shot 21%, as opposed to 45 last year. So I was expecting a lot from him just regardless, but also being in that position where you're on Cannons and behind Lyle, like no one really had the other spotlight.
No,
like Jake Pulver, I guess, but he just, you know, the defense just doesn't get enough attention in this league yet. But
no.
On the offensive side of the ball, who had the number 2 spotlight behind Lyle? Like it was wide open.
Yeah, because some weeks it was Asher.
It was
like
exactly.
It was Bubba,
or it would be like Shane Jackson or someone. But
dude, that's a really good disappointment because last year, I mean, he was scoring like McCardo was this year. Seriously,
yeah.
Like it seemed like every week, you know, he would put one up.
Yeah. So I was
that's
very
a sophomore
disappointed.
Slump, man. That's tough.
Yeah, it really was a sophomore slump. So
I think we should make that for the next episode. Who do we think? Give a top 5 sophomore slumps for next year. I think that'd be interesting to hear. Who do you guys think is gonna, especially because we had such a dominant rookie class? Like, does Matt Moore get off those shots next year? You know, that kind of thing. So maybe next week. I like that.
Chris Gray kind of had a freshman disappointment, so I don't know if he could be a sophomore slump.
Just like Sam in high school. But
yeah, that's true. All right, well, that's all we got, guys. So we hope you guys enjoyed the 2022 season. Hope you enjoyed the championship. We will be back with some off-season episodes probably next week. We'll definitely be doing some mock drafts at some point.
We're gonna be mock drafts, and I'm gonna be pushing to try to have some more guys on. So definitely, you know, stay on the lookout. Now that these guys' season's over, I feel like they might be more open to talking to us. So obviously, if you're listening to this as a player, feel free to reach out to us. Love to help. Love to have you on.
Get you on. Yep. All right. Well, we will talk to you all next week. Until then, peace.
Peace.